I've had some pretty serious adversity in kind of the recent history. And so I thought it was an important thing to talk about. We've all had adversity, we've all been through adversity. And something my sister told me a long time ago when I had a really tough breakup was, Cam, it's called going through something for a reason because there is an end to it. It's like going through a path of thorn bushes. It's going to hurt while you're going through that adversity, while you're going through those troubled times, but there is an end. There's always an end to it. That's why they call it going through. And I'm very visual, so that was a really useful visualization tool that I can use now for the rest of my life. Is when something hard happens, you can't take away how difficult something might be, but you can take away maybe the doom and gloom to a degree of it, because you know that it's only temporary. Everything is temporary, the good and the bad. It's always just temporary. And so the adversity that I've experienced, I don't want to get into like the details of it, but I've had people that have tried to take me out. And I don't mean like kill me, but they've tried to get me fired. They have tried to get under my skin in person with a little bit of harassment. They have done legal things to me, and all because I tried to do the right thing. All because I wasn't ever in the wrong, but there are petty people out there, and these petty people oftentimes need to always have the upper hand. They always need to have the last word or the last laugh, or they can't let people know that they're actually in the wrong, and so they try to shove other people down to make themselves look like the good person, when in reality they're just they're just hurting the people around them. And I've been on the other side of that, and it's created a lot of adversity in my life. And not only that piece, but I I don't want to say bounced around from jobs. I've just had a lot of different experiences. I was a personal trainer at the Nike World headquarters, starting out of college. And that was a great experience, but it didn't pay very well. It taught me a lot of great lessons about budgeting, so it was a blessing in disguise. But for 5-ish years, it was really tough. So like until I was 27, that was tough. It was really hard not making a ton of money and having your income and your livelihood be based off of if people are going to be available, if people are sick, if people are out of the country, if people just don't show up and flake on you, if your income is super variable. And so that was adversity within itself, but I was grateful to have a job, and a job that kept me healthy and fit nonetheless. So there was a lot of bright side to that. And I think that's one of the tools that I gained from a lot of my adversity, is like there oftentimes is a bright way to look at things, a positive way to look at things. What did you gain? There was a Jocko Willink video that he made a long time ago that got ridiculously popular, and it was called Good. And anytime something bad happens, you just say good. What is there to gain from this? You didn't get the job? Good. You're gonna be sharper and prepare harder and better for the next one. Or maybe it's an even better opportunity down the line. That has happened to me, actually, that specific one, where I was unemployed for a while, years ago, and I just wanted anything. And the job that was offered to me was it paid like crap. And I was like, man, I'm just gonna be, this is dead end. I'm gonna be stuck here, but it's gonna take all my time. So I'm not really gonna be able to apply for other things. So I gotta turn this down. And so I turned it down. It hurt, but good, because better things came down the pipeline. It was good that I didn't get other opportunities alongside that, because it allowed me to prepare more and ready myself for the opportunity that was to come, which I'm in right now. So good is a great attitude to have through any sort of adversity. Very challenging to do because we're emotional creatures. We react emotionally, but if we can turn that off and trigger on the logical side versus the emotional side. You know, like, oh no, something bad happened. Oh, I'm gonna cry. I'm so angry. I'm so unhappy. That's all emotional. But if you can go, okay, let's take a step back and go logical with it. Go, good. What can I gain from this? What other opportunities are out there? Just thinking positively. That's a learned skill, but it's a powerful, powerful skill to get through any kind of adversity. And it's still something I'm working on. A lot of this is very much so a work in progress. But so even before I was a personal trainer at Nike, college was very hard for me. I've never been a school kind of guy. I've never been a read out of a book or learn from a projector. Sorry, learn out of a textbook, I should say. Learn from a projector, kind of standardized testing kind of guy. I've never been that kind of mind. And Albert Einstein had a good quote that was, if you tell a fish to climb a tree, it'll think it's dumb its whole life. And I was that fish trying to climb a tree. I hated school. I was not good at it. I thought I was an idiot. Turns out I'm actually not an idiot. I just didn't agree with standardized testing. My brain, the way I learned, it didn't agree with it. So the adversity of school was real. And I struggled very, very hard. I was a very C student, and I had to work my ass off for those C's. Later learned that I might have had a little bit of ADHD, and I procrastinated everything. I didn't want to do things that I didn't want to do, and so I just didn't do them. Plus, you know, all the social life, and it's college, and so I just didn't prioritize correctly, and I didn't learn the way they wanted me to learn. And so it was a whole kind of like tornado of things that created an adverse situation for me. So that wasn't an easy process. My first year in college, I was on academic probation. And so like, it started off hard. It started off not on a good foot. I eventually graduated, got a kinesiology degree, and that's what led me into personal training. And then after that, I knew that personal training was a pretty dead-end job, and I didn't want to stay there. I did not want to stay there. Trading my time for money, that was a terrible way to live life. 5 a.m. mornings, 6 p.m. nights, working around other people's schedules. You're basically their bitch. And so even though, you know, I had amazing relationships with people, and it allowed me to get really close with people, you know, there's always good to these discomforts, right? These uncomfortable situations. There's always good to it. You just have to look for them. But I wanted out. There was more bad than good. And so I went into a research and development role at Nike after 4 years of trying, after 4 years of interviews and being rejected and follow-ups and taking people to lunch when I didn't have any money, and being told, you're doing all the right things, Cam, dangling the carrot in front of my face. And eventually, after 4 years of trying, I got the call. And I didn't stop for 4 years, I didn't stop because I didn't have any other way out of personal training. I couldn't think of anything. I didn't have the savviness to start a different business. I was learning. I was like 25, 24. I didn't know the things. And I just didn't do anything other than that and learn about psychology and finance and things that interested me. And anyway, so I got into this research and development role. Then there were layoffs after a year. Boom, more adversity. All right. Unemployed for a year. I was 500 applications deep and no bites. I had a couple interviews, but nothing substantial. And I started my own business actually in the middle there. I don't want to talk too much about it, but it was something that really interested me in regards to psychology, and it went pretty well. But I was starting a business off of like 20 grand of savings, and you can do all the advertisement and marketing in the world, but that money's going to go away really, really fast, right? So I had to be really creative with how I got my word out. And it was a grind. It was an absolute grind. And that money dwindled quickly, so I knew I had to pick something back up. So then finance came into my life, and it's been a huge blessing. The studying and the testing and the interviews was about a year and a half long process. And so there was a lot of adversity within there as well. And then getting actually into the job, huge blessing. Really grateful to be where I am. but it's really, really hard, really hard. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. And it's been the most trying thing I've ever done. And I've done a lot of difficult things in life. I wake up 5, 6 a.m. every morning and go to the gym for the last 16 plus years. I've never missed more than a week of working out. And so I put myself in a lot of discomfort, but this has been the hardest thing that I've ever done. And there's been a lot of adversity, a lot of people shutting me down, not showing up for meetings, just getting my ass handed to me, honestly. And so there's been a lot of adversity throughout my life. It hasn't been an easy path, but I don't think my story is unique. I think everybody has adversities like this. And that's why I'm making this video, because I think it's relatable to everybody. And there are people who've had it way harder than me, way harder than me. There's also been people who have had it way easier than me. And it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. The idea is that adversity is real. We all experience it, but how do we get through it? And I think the mental tools, being able to practice kind of what I mentioned, the visualization of you're going through something, it's only temporary, and good, what's going to come out of this, flip it to a positive, is really, really powerful. And so I just wanted to share this story. Maybe it could relate, you could relate to this story, or gain something from it. And I'm still learning. I'm still trying to figure out more ways to, I guess, cope or overcome adversity, because it's only going to continue, right? That's life. That's a life experience. There's always adversity. There will always be things that go wrong in life, but what can we take from those things? They say 80% of life is, 20% of life is what happens, and 80% is how you deal with it. And so that 20% is oftentimes the adversity, and the 80%, how do you respond, right? The world is a reflection of us. Our world out there, the world that we see, every person's world is different. I see the world differently than you do. My neighbor sees the world differently than I do. It's all our own perspective. And it's because the world is how we view it. It's a reflection of us. And so if we can view the world differently, if we can view the adversity, the things that happen to us differently, then we're going to have a different world, right? We're going to have a different experience, a different reality. That's something I'm really trying to practice, because it's deep. That's kind of deep work. But just constantly reminding myself, when bad things happen, okay, how do I respond to this? How do I respond to this? I have decisions to make here. Our life is a sum of all of our decisions, all of our choices, for the most part. Most things in life are because we've decided something. Sometimes, every now and then, something is thrust upon us, right? And we can't help that. But we can choose how to respond. We can choose what we do with what happens to us. And so I think that's an important message to share, is that when those things happen to us, it's our decision, it's our choice to create what comes next. Because what we do next defines our life. How we view what happens creates our actions afterwards, and it's what creates our life. So that's all I want to share today. I hope you were able to glean a little bit of wisdom, knowledge, thoughts from that. Hopefully it was somewhat thought-provoking. And tell me, what do you think? How do you get through adversity? I'd love some more ideas. I'm very open-minded. So until the next time, we'll talk later. Bye.